A bruised girl stood barefoot on his porch. Behind her, a deputy and the magistrate's son rode up slow, waving forged debts and talking big. They said her father owed the bank. Owen Barrett said nothing, just poured her coffee and stood in the doorway. He wasn't young, he wasn't fast, but he knew books better than bullets. And when he found the second ledger, hidden, charred, and crooked as a snake, he made a quiet plan. This town was built on lies, and he meant to clean it without firing a shot. What would you risk, just to clear one name? The wind cut sideways over Raven Wash, carrying a scent of scorched cedar and distant lightning. Owen Barrett eased the kettle off the stove, poured hot water over coarse grounds, and let the silence settle deep. His bones ached from fencing, but his thoughts were clear as morning frost. Then he heard it. A soft shuffle across dry gravel. Not boots, bare feet. He stepped out onto the porch, cup in hand. She stood there, wrapped in an old canvas coat. Hair matted to her cheeks, a crusted bruise blooming under one eye. Her arms were scratched raw. A rolled paper stuck out of her waistband, creased, wet, nearly torn. Owen didn't speak. He stepped aside. She hesitated only a breath before limping into the warm cabin air. Inside, she collapsed into the chair by the fire. The coat slipped, revealing a hand-sewn dress, torn at the shoulder. Owen set the coffee down near her fingers. "Sugar's in the jar. Help yourself." She didn't answer, just stared into the flame like she was chasing something back through it. He waited. Let her lead. "I'm Ana Reyes," she finally whispered. "My father passed 3 weeks ago. They came for the land. Said he owed. I don't believe them." Owen nodded once. "I ran," she said. "Had to. They had paper. A seal. They said I was trespassing on my own kin's dirt." He sipped his coffee, slow. "Who came?" She met his eyes. Deputy Pike and Wade Coulter. The names turned something cold behind Owen's ribs. Wade. Coulter, son of Magistrate Silas Coulter. A man raised on power and smugness, now neck-deep in Red Hollow's land business. And Deputy Pike, always quick with a pen, quicker with a boot. Owen set his cup down. "They follow you?" Anna nodded. "I cut across dry beds. Doubled back near Widow May's line. Didn't sleep, just kept moving." Thunder rolled far off, distant but real. That's when they heard hooves, 4 horses, slow and sure, climbing the road to Yucca Bend. Owen stepped out again. Sunlight streaked low between the mesquites. Wade Coulter rode front, hat tipped, clean vest untouched by dust. Beside him, Deputy Pike, his badge crooked and face smug. 2 others flanked them, hired men, by the look. Wade spoke first. "Morning, Mr. Barrett. Heard you had a visitor." "Many come thirsty," Owen said. "We're looking for a girl stole from the bank." Ledger sheet, sealed claim. Owen didn't blink. "You got a warrant?" Pike held one up, folded. "Search and seizure." "Let's see it." The paper was damp, and ink fresh. No judge's signature, just Pike's. Owen reached behind him, slow, clear, and rested his hand on the long gun across the porch rail. Didn't raise it, just let the meaning settle. "This here's private property," Owen said. "You'll not cross without a signed warrant, and not by yours alone." Wade's jaw tightened. "You're harboring a fugitive. I'm pouring coffee." Pike leaned forward in the saddle. "You'll regret this, old man." Owen didn't answer. After a long, tense pause, Wade turned his horse. "Come on. He wants to play legal. We'll play legal. For now." They rode off, dust curling behind them like smoke. Pike spit once on the steps. Owen stepped inside. Anna hadn't moved, but tears trembled at the edge of her lashes. "They'll come back," she said. "Yes," Owen replied, lifting the rifle off the porch rail. "But next time, I'll have questions too." She looked at him, confused. He gave her a quiet smile. "You ever see a ledger lie?" "I have, and I've seen one tell the truth." When it mattered most, he walked to the far wall, pulled down an oil lamp, and struck a match. Some debts are written, some are owed, and some, if you're brave enough, can be burned down to the truth. By morning, paper notices flapped like crow's wings across Red Hollow's storefronts. Final notice: estate of Tomas Reyes deceased. Owed sum, $2,184.75. Payable immediately to First Territorial Bank. Owen Barrett read one posted to the livery wall, ink still tacky to the touch. A deputy's signature at the bottom, E. Pike. Dead men can't sign contracts, he muttered, folding the paper. The town smelled like old grease and wet leather. Rain had come overnight, light but steady. It had carved little runnels down Yucca Ben's trail and left the porch boards soft under his boots. Anna had slept hard for the first time in days, curled near the fire with Owen's old army coat draped over her shoulders. Now, she rode beside him, her face mostly hidden under a slouched hat, the bruising along her cheekbone yellowing at the edges. "Why so many notices?" she asked, eyeing another nailed to the general store. "They want folks to believe it's true," Owen said, "before truth has a chance to speak." They passed Trace Milner on the boardwalk. Long coat, polished boots, eyes like unblinking marbles. A gun for hire who used to run with Pike's older cousin back in Frontera County. The kind of man who smiled only when someone flinched. Anna shrank into her coat as they rode past. Owen didn't slow, but he caught the glint of iron under Trace's coat. By the time they reached Widow Ivy May's place, rain had picked back up. The old woman cracked the door with a knitting needle in one hand and spectacles low on her nose. "Owen Barrett, if you're here to tell me bad news, kindly fetch me a good pie first." He handed her a damp pawn stub. "Recognize this?" he asked. She squinted. "Well, I'll be. That's Tomas Reyes's mark. He gave me this himself when he pawned his hunting rifle for seed money." "Why? Take a look at the date." She adjusted her glasses, then frowned. "This says April 2nd. The bank claims he borrowed funds on April 12th. "Exactly." She blinked. "Well, that don't sit right at all." Owen tipped his hat. "Appreciate you, Ivy." "Watch your back, Owen Barrett," she said, eyes sharp. "There's folks in this town who would rather burn the truth than read it." He and Anna rode next to the edge of the wash, where an old prospector lived, in a sunken shack made of patched canvas and salvaged tin. "Gideon Lark?" Owen called out. A coughing fit answered, then a creaky voice. "Depends who's askin'." "It's Owen. Need to ask about that old bank safe you hauled years back." The man emerged, beard like an exploded bird's nest, eyes red-rimmed from pipe smoke. "Yeah, I remember," Gideon rasped. "Heavy beast. Hauled it with 2 mules after that flash flood. Bank never replaced it, just sealed off the side window." "What side window?" Anna asked. He grinned. "Old teller line, pre-flood. Got buried behind the back wall. Most folks forgot it ever existed." Owen looked to Anna, then back to Gideon. "If someone wanted to hide or sneak records out," he said, "that'd be the place." Gideon nodded. "If you're careful, yeah." Still dry under there, Owen turned his horse toward the trail. "Much obliged." They rode in silence for a while, only the wet squeak of saddle leather between them. Then Anna said quietly, "They're not just lying, are they?" "They're building lies," like scaffolding. Owen gave a soft grunt. "Crooked paper's how some folks build power. And how do you stop it?" He looked at her, steady, calm, with clean paper, with proof, with people willing to tell what they saw, even when it's hard. They crested the ridge, the town of Red Hollow stretching below like a dried-up vein, the bank, the courthouse, the saloon, all linked by false ink and hollow pride. "Think they'll come for us again?" Anna asked. "Count on it," Owen said. "But next time, I'll have more than coffee to offer. If you believe quiet courage can still change the world, leave a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe for the next ride." Owen Barrett liked problems he could fix with calloused hands and a straight board, but this wasn't fencing. This was paper, crooked, coiled, and soaked in ink someone thought couldn't bleed. He sat at his kitchen table, lamp low, reading through the crumpled notices Anna had tucked into her coat pocket. The ink was thick in some spots, thin in others, as if copied or faked. Anna sat nearby, boots off, her feet wrapped in a flour sack. She watched him like someone afraid to hope. "This mark here," Owen said, tapping the bottom corner of the debt claim, "claims to be certified by Clerk Benjamin Raleigh." She nodded. "That name was on the other 2 papers, too." "Problem is," Owen said, rising and crossing to a wooden crate where he kept old court receipts. "Raleigh retired last winter. I helped load the wagon that took him east. He found the envelope, pulled out a notice from last year's cattle dispute. Same seal, same office. But the ink pattern on the signature curved sharper, firmer. Different hand," he murmured. Anna came closer, peering over his shoulder. Then the whole thing's fake? If the clerk's mark is false, the entire note collapses. A flicker of something crossed her face. Relief, maybe, but it faded quick. That doesn't stop them, she said. They'll say it's a mistake, a clerical mix-up, and folks'll nod and forget Owen looked at her. You're not wrong, he said. That's why we'll need more than one corner peeled back. We need the whole sheet turned over. They rode out again just before noon. The sky hung low, silver with heat, as they made their way behind the livery, where the bank's rear wall faced the dry arroyo. Gideon Lark met them there, puffing his pipe, pointing with his walking stick. There, he said, that's where they used to load coin boxes back in the day. Flood buried most of it, but the sea. Iron window bars are still in place behind that plaster patch. Owen climbed down, brushed his gloved hand across the corner. Feels hollow, he said. Someone rebuilt this fast. Would have been Duval, Gideon muttered. Didn't want folks nosing around once he took over. Owen nodded. It'll hold a secret long as it's dark. Which means we go in after sunup, back home. Owen spread out the town map from years past, back when the flood rerouted the drainage. You think the bank has a second set of books? Anna asked. I'd bet my boots on it, Owen replied. Clean books out front. Dirty ones tucked under lock and grin. He turned a page and found the old permit for storm drain repairs. There, in fine print, was a maintenance hatch, now sealed, just under the alley behind the bank. Every town's got its forgotten places, he said, voice quiet. Anna folded her arms. So, what's the plan? We sneak in and grab the truth? Not yet, Owen said. First we let them walk into their own lie. He showed her a list. Dates from Thomas Rhea's original probate. The key, the supposed debt was recorded after the estate had closed. That was illegal under territorial law. Post-dated fraud, Owen said. One good match on paper, and the whole chain falls. And the judge? Wade's daddy won't touch this unless the town howls, but Reverend Cole might. They packed the papers into oilcloth and slid them into a feed sack. Owen marked the edge with a chalk cross, subtle but clear to him. As they saddled up again, Anna paused. I thought running meant cowardice, she said, but this is the first time I feel like we're walking towards something, not away. Owen gave her a long look. You're doing more than most ever would. He offered her the reins. Ready to rattle the tree? Anna smiled, small but true. Let's shake it till the rot falls out. The sky wore its Saturday best, clear and wide, a break from the restless winds that had thrashed Yucca Bend all week. Folks gathered under cottonwoods near the courthouse for the town meeting and monthly potluck, drawn by equal parts hunger, routine, and unease. Wade Coulter stood atop a wagon bed, his slick vest catching sun like an oil spill. He held a folded page in one hand and gestured with the other, voice oiled smooth for the crowd. Now, I know some of you are troubled by these notices, he called, but order must be kept. Debts honored, contracts respected. What kind of town are we if folks just decide what they owe? A few heads nodded, others stayed still. The air held its breath. Owen Barrett stood near the coffee pots, hat tipped low, one boot resting on the side of the well. Anna sat beside Widow Ivy May, braid tucked neat, hands clasped to still their tremble. She wore a blue cotton dress Owen's late sister had sewn long ago. It fit her awkward, but she wore it proud. Wade turned a page with flair. This debt is clear. Original note signed, witnessed, filed, proper. The Reyes family benefited from that loan. Now they must settle it, or forfeit the property. He nodded to Deputy Pike, who stood at the edge of the crowd, arms crossed, pistol low and visible. Then Owen raised his voice. I'd like to hear the note read out. Word for word, silence bloomed. Wade blinked. Beg pardon? You claim the note's solid. Let's hear it. Duval stepped forward from the crowd, the banker's gold pocket watch gleaming from his vest. This is private legal business, Mr. Barrett. It's improper to... Then don't use the town square to prosecute it, Owen said calmly, or hide behind paper that no one's seen. The crowd shifted. Widow Ivy coughed into her hand and muttered, Seems fair. A tall, raw-boned preacher, Reverend Cole, adjusted his collar and stepped forward. His voice was plain but carried. If I may, he said, Tomas Reyes entrusted me with a sealed letter, said to open it only if his daughter was harassed by claims after he passed. That time appears to have come. Duval's eyes narrowed. Wade's smile, thin to a blade. You'll want to be very careful, Duval warned, about insinuating defamation or questioning the integrity of Red Hollow's financial backbone. I'm careful, Reverend Cole replied. I'm also sworn to truth. Wade jumped down from the wagon, boots thudding on dust. We won't let this turn into a circus. If you have concerns, bring them through channels. Did that, Owen said. Now we're in the square. Pike moved closer, fingers twitching near his belt, but he didn't speak, not yet. Then came the distraction, planned or lucky, no one could tell. A group of women carried pies from the church kitchen, calling for plates and forks. The crowd broke up into smaller knots, conversation turning quick and shallow. Wade leaned toward Duval. We'll lose him if this drags. Duval nodded toward Pike. The deputy moved off, muttering into a fold of cloth. Likely a runner to Trace Milner or one of the banker's bruisers. Owen eased back toward Anna, who hadn't spoken yet. Her knuckles were white on her lap. You all right? He asked quietly. I hate crowds, she murmured, but I hate hiding more. You did fine, he said. We rattled their porch. Anna looked at Reverend Cole, now unfolding a dusty envelope, lips pressed tight. Do you think the letter helps? She asked. I think the truth stacks slow, but it stacks sure. In the corner of the square, a boy in overalls banged out a rhythm on the water pump with a spoon. Then someone shouted from the depot porch, where the telegraph sat. Hey! Order just came through. Judge's son requested lumber. Says they're fixing up the gallows again. The music stopped. A hush rippled. Owen didn't move. He watched Wade Coulter's face pale and redden all at once. Anna, Owen said, voice low. We don't wait on permission anymore. The wind had turned strange, restless, hot, even in shade. Storm air, Owen thought. Not the kind with thunder, but the kind that shifts people. He tapped the heel of his boot against Gideon Lark's porch. Rail, waiting. The old prospector finally emerged from behind a shelf of gear, holding a brittle map and a stub of candle. This the alley? Owen asked. Yep, Gideon said, spitting sideways. And that old window don't squeak if you ease it left. I used to sneak whiskey in that way back when Duval ran dry weeks, Owen nodded once. Reckon we go tonight. Anna, standing nearby with a wool coat draped over her arm, met his eyes. I'm ready. By sundown, Red Hollow was half drunk on pie and borrowed calm. Trace Milner paced the boardwalk like a dog sniffing wind. Wade Coulter hadn't been seen since the town meeting, but the gallows beams had arrived on a flatbed. Duval's office lamp glowed steady. Just past midnight, Owen and Anna crept along the alley between the bank and the vacant feed store. Gideon's map had been right. The window opened quiet, no fuss. Inside, the dark smelled of lemon oil and fear. Owen lit the candle, small flame cupped. The ledgers sat in even stacks, too even. Anna whispered, these look rewritten. He flipped one open, pages crisp, ink dark. But the numbers didn't breathe like real work. No smudges, no crossouts. A lower drawer groaned open. There, second set, pages dog-eared, ink half-faded, notes scribbled in two hands. Anna read, June 17th, double stamp, July 3rd, backdate note, September 9th, paid off Coulter. Her hand trembled. It's all here. Owen slid pages loose, tucking them inside his vest. That's enough to raise hell. Footsteps thudded outside. A guard's lantern bobbed. Then, who's in there? Owen doused the candle and yanked Anna behind the teller's desk. The guard kicked the door. Hinges screeched. A match flared. Then, fire! A curtain near the stove had caught from a still ember. The room bloomed orange. Go, Owen hissed. He shoved Anna toward the window and followed fast. Heat bit at their boots. They hit the alley, coughing, as Trace's voice rang out from down the block. I see him! That's arson. They ran blind into wind and ash. Behind them, smoke climbed the courthouse spire. At dawn, the roof was black and smoldering. Duval stood on the bank steps, wrapped in a cloak, face hard as stone. Wade beside him, arms crossed. Trace circled like a dog off-chain. Owen stood on his porch, sleeves rolled, eyes direct. He didn't run, he didn't deny. Anna was inside with Ivy May, holding a wet rag to her blistered palms. They'll blame him, she said. Ivy patted her shoulder. Blame's easy, truth ain't by noon. Deputy Pike rode up with 2 men. He didn't draw, just dismounted and said, Owen Barrett, you're under arrest for arson, breaking and entering, and theft of property. Owen wiped his hands on a cloth, hung it on the rail, and nodded. I'll come quiet. They walked him down Main Street. Spit hit his boots. Laughter followed. Anna stepped into their path. He saved my life. He told me not to go. I lit the match. No one asked, Pike growled. Owen met her eyes. Let it ride, Anna. Not here. They shoved him into the yeet. Cell inside, he sat on the cot, worked his boot heel loose, and pulled out 3 burnt pages, scorched but legible. Behind a loose stone in the wall, he hid them. The cell door slammed. Footsteps faded. Evening fell purple and quiet. Then, Reverend Cole arrived with a satchel and a sealed envelope. This, he said, was Thomas Reyes's last letter. He asked me to hold it. Time to open it? Cole nodded. Tomorrow. Owen took the envelope, turned it in his hands. It felt heavier than paper. Outside, Wade toasted justice from the balcony. Trace knocked down Owen's hat for show. Owen picked it up, dusted it off, and said soft, paper first. Then pride. Somewhere down the telegraph line, metal clacked steady, signals going out. The cell smelled of damp stone and the faint bitterness of ash. Owen sat on the edge of the cot, hands folded, hat resting beside him like a worn-out dog. The firelight from last night still haunted his skin. His coat bore a singed hole, and the cuffs were stiff with soot. Deputy Pike had made a fine show of it. Marched him down Main Street at full noon, cuffs rattling, hat slapped to the dust by Trace Milner for flair. This is what law looks like, Pike had called over his shoulder to a half-gathered crowd. But most folks didn't meet Owen's eye. A few looked away. One old man tipped his hat. Ivy May had nodded once, lips tight. Anna, God bless her, had stepped forward and said the match had been hers. Her voice shook. No one cared. Now, dusk slouched across the windows. A square of fading orange hovered on the stone wall like a held breath. Reverend Cole arrived just after sundown, quiet shoes and kind eyes. He carried a sealed envelope wrapped in oilcloth. This was Thomas Reyes's last letter, he said, placing it carefully on the cot. Time-stamped, witnessed. He told me to open it only if Anna ever faced a claim she couldn't fight. Owen touched the paper gently. Tomorrow, he said, during court. Cole nodded. The telegraph's been working all night. Your friends didn't stop, didn't ask them to. Doesn't mean they won't. Cole looked at the stone wall, like he could see through it. Faith runs quiet, but it runs. When he left, silence returned, thick and thinking. Owen moved to the far wall and pried loose the flat stone. Behind it, 3 scorched pages from the banker's second ledger. Ink still legible, dates still crooked. He pressed them flat beneath the cot board, then slid the stone back in place. Outside, a piano played badly. Laughter, the kind that scratches. Later that night, Owen heard soft steps near the cell window. The voice that followed was barely above a whisper. They're printing broadsheets, Anna said. Duval's got a new note he claims is the original. Fresh as spring grass, Owen leaned toward the bars. He's getting nervous. They plan to show it tomorrow, make the crowd swallow it whole. Wade says you torched the records to hide your guilt. I've figured. Doesn't matter, she said. I've still got... The page Trace dropped, and the Reverend's got the letter, and someone saw you tuck the real ledger page in your boot. Owen allowed a half smile. Someone? Ivy's boy, the tall one, told Gideon, said he knew it was important. There was a pause, the kind that asked something without saying it. You think it'll be enough? She asked. Owen tilted his head. If they listen to paper, yes. If they only listen to men like Duval, no. And if the marshal doesn't come, then we make it cost them, Owen said, in front of everybody. She was quiet a moment. Then, I'll wear Mama's shawl. She always said it gave her backbone. That it does, Owen murmured. Morning came slow, heavy with silence. Pike unlocked the cell without a word. Trace waited by the stairs, toothpick dangling, eyes smug. He slapped Owen's hat into his chest. You still got time to shut up, he said. Owen put the hat on. You still got time to stand down. He stepped out into gray light. Folks were already gathering near. The courthouse, some with folded arms, others with tight brows. Ivy May stood near the bench with a basket of bread, but she wasn't smiling. Gideon Lark leaned on his cane, holding a folded paper like a shield. In the east, the whistle of a far train echoed faintly. Owen turned his collar to the wind and walked straight. The courthouse square in Red Hollow swelled with bodies before the sun climbed full into the sky. Sunday shirts, dust-worn dresses, buggies creaked in, boots shuffled on the dry-packed clay. Something electric hung in the air, like the moments before a lightning strike. Owen Barrett stood to the side of the gallows steps, shoulders level, hat brim low. Beside him, Reverend Cole clutched the sealed envelope with both hands. Anna stood straighter than most, her mother's shawl tied firm across her shoulders, green against the wind. Wade Coulter took the platform first. His smile was polished, his suit sharp, and his voice oiled like a gambler's dice. "Folks," he began, holding up a crisp document, "I've come into possession of the true original debt owed by Thomas Reyes. This clears all confusion. The note was misplaced, not forged. The bank, in its charity, seeks no further punishment. Only repayment, as written." A few townsfolk clapped, unsure. Others looked toward Owen. Owen didn't flinch. Duval stood next, heavy with sweat and arrogance. "We have ledgers to support this," he announced, laying a worn book on the podium. "A clean record, I assure you." "Let's see it then," Owen said, voice steady. "Private property," Duval snapped. From behind the crowd, Ivy May spoke. "So was my wedding ring." Murmurs rolled. Reverend Cole stepped forward. "May I speak?" Duval scoffed. Wade hesitated. "Briefly." The Reverend opened the envelope slowly. "This was left with me 3 years ago, signed by Tomas Reyes, notarized, witnessed." He unfolded the letter. His voice held no theatrics. "I, Tomas Reyes, being of sound mind, testify that any new claim of debt filed against me after the spring flood of that year is false. I never borrowed again. The bank refused fair interest. I leave this letter to protect my daughter from harm, should such lies arise." A hush gripped the square. Owen moved then. He reached into his coat and pulled a folded page. Burnt edges, crisp center. This came from the drawer Duval didn't want touched. Ink doesn't lie, neither do the teeth of a ledger book. He held it up next to Duval's copy. "See how these stubs match?" He turned it. Same date, different handwriting, different stamp. Trace Milner started forward, hand twitching toward his coat. Before he could reach the steps, Owen swung his broom handle, hardwood, clean, into Trace's shin. The gun skittered across the boards. The crowd gasped. Deputy Pike cursed and reached for his holster. A shrill whistle split the air. 2 men on horseback barreled in from the south road, dust curling behind them. Then a third, then 6. They wore long coats, tin stars, glinting. "Deputy marshals," one called, voice cutting through the tension. "Stand down." Pike froze, his hand mid-draw. The lead marshal dismounted in one smooth motion. "We have federal warrants for Raymond Duval, Wade Coulter, Deputy Pike, and Trace Milner. Charges include fraud, conspiracy, falsification of legal documents, and abuse of municipal authority." The townspeople parted. Gideon Lark stepped aside to let the lawmen pass. Duval sputtered. "You can't. This is a local matter." "No, sir," the marshal said, slapping cuffs on him. "You made it federal the moment you altered probate documents." Wade tried to flee. Anna, without thinking, stuck out her foot. The magistrate's son fell hard, cheek grinding into clay. Laughter didn't follow, only silence and justice. Reverend Cole tucked the letter back into his coat. The marshals took the crooked men away one by one. Owen turned to Anna. "He didn't die in vain." She blinked fast but nodded. "No, he didn't." The square exhaled. But, even in victory, a question lingered in the wind. What now becomes of the girl who dared stand in front of Red Hollow's lies? By mid-morning, Red Hollow's square stood washed in calm light, the dust still hanging like a held breath after the marshals rode in. Raymond Duval sagged between 2 deputies, his collar damp with sweat, and his words dried up. Wade Coulter sat slumped on the courthouse steps, eyes darting, mouth working, like he was chewing on shame. Trace Milner had one arm tied tight in a sling. Marshal Corman didn't care if the bruises came from a broom handle or bad judgment. Deputy Pike stood with his hands shackled in front, the weight of his badge gone, his pride soured. The crowd had not left. They lingered, whispering, watching. Marshal Corman raised a hand. "Let it be known that these arrests are made with due cause and evidence." More names may follow, depending on the contents of recovered ledgers. From the back, Ivy Mae cleared her throat. You'll want the ones buried, behind the dry goods shelf. Duval paid the clerk to shelve the truth with his sugar. The marshal nodded. Appreciated, ma'am. Just then, Reverend Cole stepped forward again, carrying a second envelope. There's one more matter. Owen looked up. This document was left in my keeping by Tomas Reyes the same day as the first. It was not to be opened unless the debt proved false. He opened it carefully, unfolding thick paper with clean corners. Tomas Reyes did, by rightful ownership and free will, deed the family storefront and inventory to his daughter Ana Reyes to be held in trust by this church until such time as she is legally cleared of all claims. A gasp rippled through the square. Ana swayed slightly, blinking. Owen took a half step closer, but said nothing. Reverend Cole continued. This trust was notarized and witnessed. The deed was never filed, likely suppressed by Duval's office. He turned to Marshal Corman. I request this be entered as part of the federal review. Corman accepted the paper with both hands. It will be. Duval muttered something low. Marshal Corman bent down. You say something, banker? You can't just hand her the town. I ain't handing her anything. Her father did. You tried to erase that. She's reclaiming what was already hers. Anna stepped forward. I don't want anyone's pity, she said, voice sure but soft. But I'll take the store. I'll open it again. Honest, this time people nodded. Even Gideon Lark tipped his stained hat. Then, Ivy Mae stepped up again. Anna, I kept your mother's sewing machine when they shut the place down. She asked me to fix the foot pedal. It's still in my attic. It's yours, Anna blinked again, this time slower. Thank you, ma'am, Gideon grunted. That safe still works, mostly. Could stand some oil and a new pin. I'll see to it, Marshal Corman turned to the people. We'll need records, names, any claims tied to Duval's bank. You'll get your money back, if it's honest. If not, well, paper lies, but not forever. Someone from the crowd called, What about the sheriff? Pike swallowed hard. Reverend Cole answered, The town council will meet to appoint a new one. This time, we'll read the fine print. Owen said nothing through all of it. He just stood near Anna, hat in hand. Later, as the sun tilted westward, the square slowly cleared. A few children chased each other near the empty gallows. Ivy Mae swept her porch. The church bell rang once, clear and bright. Anna turned to Owen. I don't know what to say. He looked at her, steady as always. Then don't. Just live right. That's enough. She nodded, eyes rimmed red but unbroken. Still got that coffee tin? She asked. Fresh batches on the stove, she smiled. Good. We've got a store to open. The bell above the shop door chimed soft and clean. Anna looked up from her ledger, a pencil behind one ear and a streak of flour across her cheek. Sunlight spilled through the new window, warming the shelves stocked with beans, cloth bolts, and tins of lye soap. Behind the counter, where her father once stood, she now wrote her own figures. They called it the Lantern House, her idea. A place where folks brought what they had, took what they needed, and wrote it down honest. No more forged notes, no late fees that grew in the dark, just light. Owen finished mending the hinge on the rear storeroom door. He wiped his hands on a rag and stood, joints stiff from a morning of fence work, but a quiet look of peace settling in his weathered eyes. You didn't have to fix that, Anna said. He shrugged. Doors like people. Swings easier when it's aligned proper, she smiled. Gideon Lark had brought the old safe in on a borrowed cart. It sat behind the counter now, freshly oiled and marked with a brass plate that read, Property of the People of Red Hollow. Ivy Mae came by every Tuesday to help tally accounts and donate extra goods from her cellar. Even the children came, little hands learning to stack cans, wipe windows, and count. Nickels without cheating. Anna kept a jar of peppermint sticks just for them. Outside, the air had cooled, spring winds shaking green from the cottonwoods. The magistrate's house sat empty, its gate unlatched and porch bare. A sign hung from the post now, Under Review, by order of council. The new sheriff, a younger man named Ellis Carter, had sworn his oath with one hand on the good book and the other resting atop the revised town charter, one that now required public review of all warrants and financial claims. Owen watched the man work, and so far he'd held steady. Anna set down her pencil. You think they'll come back? The kind of men like Duval or Pike? Owen leaned against the doorframe. Trouble always rides again, but so do decent folks. What matters is who's waiting when it gets here. She nodded slowly. You're staying then? He looked out at the ridge, where dust rose from the cattle road. A quiet smile tugged at his mouth. Got no place better than this. Coffee's strong, books are clean, and the company's fare decent. Anna laughed, soft and real. You ever gonna let me pay you for all you've done? You already did. They stood in the golden hush of the shop, surrounded by the simple rhythm of rebuilding, of choosing mercy, truth, and slow, honest work over fear. A boy ran in, clutching a piece of torn newspaper. Miss Anna, it's your name, here. He pointed to a small print column. Territory honors Red Hollow reform. Beneath it, a short paragraph told of a young woman who reopened her father's store and helped expose a fraudulent banking scheme. She blinked at the ink, cheeks coloring. Owen ruffled the boy's hair. Might be you get used to folks knowing your name. Anna folded the paper and tucked it inside the counter drawer. Maybe, but I'd rather they remember the store, what it stands for. They will, Owen said. They will. Outside, a wagon rumbled past. A woman waved. A man tipped his hat. The breeze smelled of new grass and dust. Honest dust. The kind kicked up by wagons going forward. Owen stepped outside, hands on hips. On the porch rail, his old tin cup steamed with coffee. He took a slow sip, watched the light stretch across the rooftops. He said, more to himself than anyone, funny how clean paper and clean hearts fix more than bullets ever did. If stories like this stir something in you, about decency, truth, and standing up quiet but firm, then saddle up with us for the next ride. There's more ahead worth watching.